Hello everyone, my name is X-treme, and today we're going to be checking out an unboxing video of a Kotobukiya statue I've been waiting quite a while for. Let's get it open. The Yami Yami card. The box looks like a Kotobukiya box. I guess it looks kind of like the classic ones. It doesn't really pop. It feels like all the other Marvel and the DC stuff. I really love those Darkstalker boxes. They were so unique and fun. But it's just a box, and I don't really keep my boxes, so whatever. Sometimes I might cut out and keep the artwork that's like on the side here. This is really cool. So this is Rogue Rebirth. I believe the last time they did Rogue was, and that's one of the first Kotobukiya statues I ever got when I was younger, and I freaking love that classic Rogue figure. It's really nice, really anime, really... I just love it. I do love the frizzy poof hair, but I do really enjoy this too. I think it's really cool. So when they announced that they were doing a rebirth of her, I was pretty excited. Let's get her open, check it out. So this is a 1/7 Kotobukiya statue of Rogue from the X-Men, Bishoujo line, illustrated by the classic Shunya of this series. Oh my goodness! This is really pretty. I'm such a huge Rogue fan, I would almost say she's my favorite comic book character of all time. I grew up with her back in the 90s, the cartoons, and those old school Jim Lee comic books, so I was always a huge fan of her. She's like that strong, independent type, but at the same time, she's so emotionally fragile throughout all the things that she's gone through in her life. I love this character. I love her development. I love everything about her. Not so much the movies, but she's very different in those movies, and it's cool to get different iterations here and there. She's always been pretty intriguing in other universes and timelines, but the classic is really my favorite. Ooh, she's a little cold to the touch. I live in a very cold country and it is freezing outside, and I just got this, so she's like fresh from the delivery service. So the base is absolutely incredible. Would I have liked to see maybe an indented X on the bottom of this in that ice? Yes, that would have been cool, but the fact that we get some of this ice here makes you think that she's probably absorbed Bobby Drake / Iceman's powers. It's awesome. It looks good. It's got a beautiful gloss texture to it, so it really pops. It feels like it's kind of wet. You have these little icicles in the corner here, and they look really good. Everything here is so well painted. Highlights, shading, textures. Oh my goodness, the textures are beautiful. And then we get a couple of Gambit cards down at the bottom, which is a very welcome nod to her bow. And I just like, this is really a nice base. I can't believe how nice it is. My goodness, Kotobukiya, thank you for constantly making epic bases over the years. You outdo yourself time and time again, and this is just a cool base. Then we get to her boots, and these boots. Oh, I love them. I love the bright yellow. The textures on this are nice too. She's sporting some high heels, and guess what? They didn't put plastics in between or under the shoe through the high heel. Like, they're actually high heels. There's nothing holding it or no stability stuff. And she is pretty solid, and she looks solid. I mean, as you're looking at these boots and they go up in her legs, she has big calves, big thighs. Like, she looks like she could kick through a wall, or at least kick the Juggernaut across a couple of streets. This is so awesome. I am so happy about this figure right now. But I just got her and I'm just opening her up, so we're gonna get a little closer here. So the boots look absolutely gorgeous. The boots have a bit of texture to them that kind of give it like a leathery kind of look. It's so awesome. There's some shading on here too, which looks really, really good. And the sculpt is absolutely fantastic on these boots. I love the knee pad pieces that she has that aren't really on the knees, like on top of the knees, the little bands that we have here. I'm clearly gushing, but it's because, again, Rogue is my favorite. I've waited years and years to have like a really nice Rogue statue. The classic one, this is gorgeous. I really like this, but this is like, you know what? This is just as beautiful, but in a different way. But the base on this is miles ahead. Of course, the years have gone by. This is what, 13 years, 14 years later, something like that? It's long enough so that it's kind of cool that they've finally done another one after all these years. Now let's talk about those thighs, because that's where her suit starts to get very interesting. Oh, the textures again, I love it. It has that kind of superhero movie texture going to it for the greens, while still being so faithful to the source material. It's so beautiful. Meanwhile, the yellow part really has this spandex kind of plasticky look to it, and all of it is beveled or indented. Like, you really feel that these two different materials have been attached with glue or sewn together, and it looks fantastic. It's so well done. And we even have some stretches of the fabric as you see her belt kind of leaning down onto one side in that classic Rogue look. It's just so well done. And let's talk about this slanted hip belt for a moment. It's gorgeous. It looks like in the cartoon, only it has that kind of leather texture that we see in the boots. The brown is a nice brown. I feel like I would have made it maybe a little lighter in brown or put a couple of highlights around the edges so it pops just a little more over the green, but it still looks really, really good. I'm just, I'm really nitpicking here. It's so hard to be objective when I like something so much. We get an awesome gloss on that X-Men logo, and that X-Men logo is so nice. It looks so good with the black and the red. It's so cool. And it kind of feels like it's a metallic clip that hooks everything up together. Now we're just gonna do it. We're getting into we're gonna get into the jacket. Like, the jacket is, I love this bomber jacket. Over the years, Rogue has had so many designs and costumes, and some of them look gorgeous with the hoodie and everything. Like, I like a lot of them, but this iconic look is just like, oh my gosh, so beautiful. I mean, even as a kid, I remember seeing her in this and thinking, one, she's the most badass character ever, and I would love to marry somebody with that kind of personality, and I did. And two, it's very pretty. I mean, it's super curvy, it shows off all the feminine shape here and there, and at the same time, it looks just so like solid and so hardcore. So this bomber jacket is fantastic. It looks so much like in the comics, so much like in the cartoon. We have a beautiful X-Men logo on her shoulders, and they look fantastic as well. They don't really look like patches because they've actually added a bit of gloss to them, but I love the gloss because it makes them pop a lot more. The matte jacket really fits nicely, and again, they kind of put in that same type of texture that you see in her boots and in her brown belt. So it pops. It's different than the textures you get everywhere else. This figure is loaded with texture, and I'm so happy about this. That's the kind of thing that really makes a figure looking like it's cheap to being very high-end. This looks and feels high-end. I'm so proud of Kotobukiya. Like, they clearly put a lot of love into this, and I can only imagine it's because it's such an homage to their classic original Bishoujo line of figures they came out with for Marvel way back when. I love the little belt at the bottom of the jacket. It looks great. We got these beautiful little loops in there, and they are actually holes. Like, it's not just drawn on there. It actually coils around the whole bottom of her jacket where we get the whole belt piece at the end. There's a lot of motion and a lot of personality to this figure. It's so wild. I still can't believe it came out looking this good. I'd seen a lot of the pictures online, and I got her because I love her so much, but even to this day where I got her, a part of me wasn't completely sold on her because I love Rogue so much. I'm so difficult to please with any kind of Rogue things in general, so I was very happy with this. There's a couple of gripes I have, but they're so superficial that I'll get into it later. Moving up on her jacket, we have the little folded out flap pieces. They look great. They look like they're a different texture as well. Like, come on, Kotobukiya, what the heck are you doing? There's so much textures. Then we have that white kind of band that goes around the inside of the collar, and it looks great as well, where the whole thing really frames the center of her suit very well. And I love this suit. It's so great to see the forearms coming out with a different texture. Really makes it pop over the brown of the jacket. And then the gloves. Oh, these gloves. So they look really nice. One thing I would say is that the hand that is open looks significantly nicer than the hand that's closed. It almost seems like the sculpture wasn't pushed in enough. You know what? It is enough. I guess it just looks like maybe the paint afterwards kind of fills in some of the cracks that should have been a little more in depth. What would have helped here is maybe just a tiny little bit of shading in between some of the fingers. But this by no means breaks anything in the figure, and from a distance you get what's going on and it still looks good. Where we then have Wolverine's bone claws. So this is where I kind of get into a bit of a gripe with the figure. The bone claws, they look great. I think it's a cool concept to be giving her a couple of these powers. You can only imagine that, hey, She's got Bobby's powers, that's why she's standing on some ice. Wolverine's powers, because she's got them claws. But they should have gone all out. When Rogue does this sort of thing, it's cool to see her with a whole bunch of stuff, especially when you're thinking Rebirth. All I can think of in my head is they should have given her the red eyes, maybe some energy for Cyclops. It would have been nice to make her skin blue, give her the tail for Nightcrawler, and then they could have polished it all up with some beautiful Archangel metallic wings or the classic wings. That would have given you that Rogue feeling from the comics where she was super OP, almost Omega level, if not Omega at that point. It was a cool concept, it was a cool comic, and it would have been nice to see them go all out on her like this. Just Wolverine feels kind of like, I guess it makes me think of the movie where you get such a bait and switch thinking that Rogue's going to be the main event, but the real main event is Wolverine the whole time, so you don't really get to see that much of her, or at least follow her story that much. And even here, where this should be like all about Rogue, well, you get a little bit of Wolverine in there, because, you know, it's not really all about Rogue, right? It's about Wolverine, no matter what you do in the X-Men. He's such a fan favorite. And don't get me wrong, I love Wolvie. It's just that I like all of them, and I think they all deserve their moment in the sun. So I do think this is cool. I think the bows is cool, and I think the bone claws are really well done. But I am kind of annoyed again that it's a Wolverine thing, especially since, like, you know, like in the comics and in the cartoon, she's close to him, but not like in the movie. So I almost feel like they're pushing a bit more of that. I think it would have been cuter if she was holding Gambit cards. Maybe she could have been holding like the Queen of Hearts or something. That would have been adorable. And it would have been a little more romantic too, to go with her badass pose and everything. I'm just nitpicking. Honestly, even the bone claws still look cool and I still really love and appreciate it. I'm just throwing a bunch of different, somewhat more creative ideas towards you, especially since, you know, if you're a fan of Rogue, odds are you know the comics pretty well, and odds are you know the cartoon and everything from back in the day. So even you could be kind of thinking, looking at this, well, yeah, you know, like, it kind of comes out of nowhere. And it feels that way. Just like her standing on the ice kind of feels like that. Maybe if they made the ice go up on her boots a little bit. These are things that they didn't really think of in the creative process. But what they did do is all exceptionally well done. The bone claws look awesome. Now let's talk about her chest, where at the top she has that really nice X-Men logo in black, and I love that little decoupage. It looks terrific. And they're being held up by her arm, and it's very well done. But she is being rather sexual while being badass at the same time, and that just represents Rogue as a whole, I'd say. She's always been super sexy and super badass and super hardcore, like just a mix of all of this all at once. It's part of her charm. She's a beautiful Southern belle. Now, that face, oh my goodness. That's her. Like, if she was gonna ever be drawn as an anime character or in a manga, this is it. Her eyes look strong and like they have a single purpose. Meanwhile, her eyebrows are low on her head, kind of giving her that determined look. And then she has this cute smirk, and it's so well done. It looks like she really knows that she's about to own you, whether you want it or not. She is taking you out. You are going out with the rest of the trash. She doesn't care if you're Juggernaut, if you're the Gladiator. Heck, you could be the Phoenix and she'll come at you with her fist. She's not thinking about this, and she's got confidence that just blows out the wazoo. It's such a solid face, especially for us Rogue fans. Like, this is so her, it's so good. The bandana looks awesome, and it kind of gives her the bit of this high top to go with her hair. It actually doesn't have that much texture to it, which is okay, because it's a welcome change from the texture you see everywhere else, and it makes it feel like, again, it's made out of different types of material. I love how it's blowing in the wind, kind of like a Ninja Turtle, and there's all sorts of curves and flows going around on it. Are they well done? They are okay. I wouldn't say it's amazing, this flow that you get, but it's by no means bad, and it is done in a unique way that it looks completely different than the hair, which is awesome because the hair is also kind of flowing, so it could have easily been lost. Okay, so the hair. So this is definitely a point of contention for a lot of people. I personally don't mind it. I think it's nice because it fits within the anime world and aesthetic. Do I like the early 90s, 80s flair poof perm? Of course I do. I'm such a big fan. But I like a bit of everything. Would I have liked to see the perm on her here? I don't know. I think she's fine the way she is. I could picture Kotobukiya coming out with another figure down the line because they always like to reuse as many times the same mold as they can, and I wouldn't put it past them to add that poofy hair. There's no promise they will. I'm just saying it seems like something they might do. I personally really love this. I think it's gorgeous. I love the flow of it all. The white that we have in the front still has a bit of that poof. It still gives a lot of the same energy that you had from the original 90s hair with that anime aesthetic that's clearly taken over. The hair flows beautifully. It goes all over the place. From the back, it's really separating into multiple strands. Underneath, it looks pretty nice too. You can kind of see where certain parts section off underneath more than you can on top, though you can still see it a little on top. It's really not as pronounced. And you know, that's pretty interesting. You know, I mean, you're not really looking underneath anyway, but from the top, they did a fantastic job. It looks really flowy and it has tons of personality all over her, and it sells the whole concept of her standing there and being as imposing as she is. When I got her, she was 18,000 yen. That's kind of expensive for a Kotobukiya figure. I'm used to spending a couple thousand less than this. But, you know, do I think she's worth it? For me, I would 100% say yes, because I'm such a huge Rogue fan. But for you, you know, if the hair doesn't do it for you, the claws, there's like a couple of things. I can see why some people that are major fans of the character might not be so into this. But at the same time, I could see why they would be. So, she's not for everybody, but she might be for you. Hopefully this review helped you kind of decide that. As of January 2024, this is the only release that she has, and I don't know, we'll see if they come out with more in the future. It'd be cool if they did. Again, I would love one of the Omega versions of her with all the people's powers. That would be cool, and that's an alternate figure of the same character that I would buy. I remember speaking about a past Kotobukiya figure, which was Felicia from Darkstalkers, and how her player 2 colors were adorable, but I was just like, I can't bring myself to buy the same character multiple times. But if they really remolded extra parts and stuff on her, then it's almost like it's an evolution of the same figure. Not better, just evolved, different. And I would love to see something like that, especially for one of my favorite characters of all time. If you like my video just a little bit, it doesn't cost much to hit that like, that subscribe, and smash that notification bell. This way you'll be notified of future episodes that I make. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! There's just so many reasons to love Rogue.